let's get into these first topics here. And the first topic here today is about the Andor TV series. Speaking of Disney Plus, coming to Disney Plus here. I don't know if there's been a release date for it, but it's been one that they announced way back when at D23. And it is one that I was kind of probably more excited for than a lot of other people because I really liked the idea of kind of exploring the morally gray area of the rebellion, because that was the one thing that I thought Rogue One did a pretty good job of, was showing that, they had to get their hands dirty. Like right in the opening scene, Andor had to kill his informant. That was cool. I mean, it wasn't cool, but I mean, it's cool that they showed it, like just they had to get their hands dirty. So I was excited to see that. But rumors have come out that maybe, potentially, there might be some Force users making an appearance in the Andor TV series. And there's one here that is, I think, is a little more likely than the other. I think one is just kind of circumstantial, and that would be like Ahsoka. But I think Obi-Wan is probably the one that is a little bit more. I could see him fitting into the Andor story a little bit more. They go on to say in the article, the person who's kind of like leaking or reporting this news. This is obviously just rumors. It's not confirmed or anything. But we're just going to talk about I don't know, what we think is likely about it. Because the Obi-Wan one, he is very familiar with Bail Organa. He's pretty much the only Jedi around at this point in time that would, had an outstanding relationship with Bail Organa. Bail Organa had his hands in the rebellion, so I could totally see probably Obi-Wan showing up in Andor. Maybe. I don't really know why, or I don't really know what would they be going for story-wise where he would fit into it, but I could see him showing up probably more so than Ahsoka, because they go on in the article and they only really name drop Ahsoka because she has multiple. Rosario Dawson, the actress who plays her, has multiple appearances on her contract, but I feel like that's going to be more related to Mandalorian. She was in Mandalorian season 2, then she has her own show. So I mean, that already explains the multiple contract thing. So I don't really think the Ahsoka thing is really all that viable. But Rick, what do you think about this? You think this is you think either one of these will pop up in the Andor series, and which one would you want to see pop up if they did?
I think Obi-Wan would be more plausible than Ahsoka. I don't really know why she'd have to show up or anything like that. I mean, I don't know if she has any reason to show up really, but like you said with Bail Organa, I think that makes it a little more plausible because of him being part of the rebellion and having his hands in it and everything. So we'll see. I didn't even really think that Obi-Wan would show up, but I mean, rumors are rumors, you know. But just kind of wait and see what happens, I think.
Yeah, I personally don't. I honestly almost feel like it's more likely that neither of them show up at this point in
That's what I
time.
would say. I mean,
But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. John, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's likely that either of them show up at all, or what do you got? What do you got?
I, to be honest, I don't. I don't really. I have a hard time seeing them work either one of them into it. Um, if I were to guess, I'd guess Ahsoka just because she seems more from my impression of Ben and Obi-Wan, and is that when he drops Luke off on Tatooine, he kind of stays there to kind of watch over him from afar. And so I don't know, unless Andor goes to him. There's
good point.
nothing. There's been nothing to implicate the fact that Obi-Wan left Tatooine and had other adventures. Now they're doing the Obi-Wan series, so maybe that will be, maybe there's a whole thing where he leaves Tatooine and he feels like Luke's in being cared for good enough and doesn't need to be there. But I never got that impression from any of the films or anything that we've seen so far that he left once he dropped him off. That being said, Ahsoka, I haven't finished Rebels and Clone Wars, so I don't really know where her story wrapped up and where she was left at the end of those. So maybe she does have a path that leads her to cross the Rebel Alliance and need to help out or be involved with Andor. So that's why I would, if I had to guess, that would be my guess. But yeah, I think it's maybe some wishful thinking. I mean, maybe the Andor crosses with a Jedi that we haven't met yet, or one of the other hidden Jedi that managed to escape Order 66. Who knows? But yeah, that would be my guess on where that's going.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, see, I was initially more on the other camp where because you're right, and I know you said you didn't really watch or finish Clone Wars and Rebels, but Ahsoka does appear in both of the shows, and she
Yeah.
appears in the latter
Mhm.
one, Rebels, which takes place.
She's pretty prominent in that show.
Yeah, so that's more. I mean that's around the same time frame that the whole Andor series would theoretically be taking place. The birth of the rebellion. So definitely a possibility that she could pop up in there. And I mean, I guess to be fair, like the person in the report said, like she does have those multiple appearances on her contract, so maybe a brief appearance, a single episode appearance, much like in Mandalorian season 2, maybe that's on the table. I don't know. And that's the thing too, like you were saying, I don't know really what either of them would do in the show because it's not like there wasn't even a force user. There wasn't a Jedi, we'll say. There was a Force user, but there wasn't a Jedi in the Rogue One series.
No,
So
no.
Yeah.
I don't know why all of a sudden, like it would honestly be kind of odd that like they go and through the entire events of Rogue One without the help or mention of any Force user, but then in the Andor show, which is a precursor to Rogue One, obviously,
Yeah.
he could have had the help of all of them could have had the help of a force user at that point. So that's the only thing. So if it is Obi-Wan, it would make sense because he's like, nah, I can't help you. I got to watch this kid. So like
I'm
maybe,
babysitting.
like maybe. So I don't know. I don't know where they would fit in, but I guess they would. I wouldn't want them to be there just for the sake of being there. You know what I mean? That's really my only
Sure.
worry.
Yeah.
You also run into not that it's definite that this is what would happen, but you run into the challenge if you bring Ahsoka into that show and she's appearing in Mandalorian and she has her own live action show that we're not really sure, what that's. We think it's going to be her going after General Thawne, right? Um,
It seems to be.
if you're going to be bouncing around with that character at three different time periods at that point, through three different series, so it might get a little confused. Like there may be fans of just the Mandalorian or just the Star Wars films that aren't steeped in the lore, and you have Ahsoka pop up in Andor series, and they'll be like, "Wait a minute, I thought she was in the Mandalorian. How did she get from there to here? I thought this
Yeah.
took place." You kind of open the door for some confusion, for people that aren't diehard fans, I think.
Mhm.
But still, it does work. I think it works. I think she works maybe a little better than Obi-Wan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I was initially, you turned me to the Ahsoka camp more because I really do feel like she would make a little bit more sense. But I also agree that like I don't think it would be confusing for people. Like people who don't follow, like people who ain't watching these kind of shows, it would be confusing because like they'd have to like de-age her a little bit for her to appear in um the Andor show, theoretically. I mean, she's an alien, so you could kinda get away with it, but, I mean, that was
Sure.
a pretty decent time before Mandalorian and the time period there. So, I mean, I think this was pre-Death Star 1 being blown up. Mandalorian is post-Death Star 2 being blown up.
Yeah.
So, there's a
Mhm.
significant difference in time there. Uh, so I guess
I
in
hope
as
they. I
what were you
hope they're
saying?
not trying to do it just. I hope they're not trying to do it just to do it. Just
Yeah.
the success of Luke's cameo in Mandalorian didn't prompt the execs at Disney to go, "Hey, you know what? We need a big, surprise guest every season on every show." Like, just concentrate on telling your good stories, and when the opportunity presents itself and it makes sense in the story, then yeah, go for it. But don't start just forcing like, "Oh, hey, kids, here's Obi-Wan, here's Yoda, here's, whoever," just because you feel like you need a big reveal or whatever.
Yeah, I hope they don't
Like
fall in because that's an easy thing to fall into, like
I could honestly, because of Vader's appearance and the success of it in Rogue One, I could see them having a Vader scene.
Yeah.
He did show up in Rogue One, so
Yeah.
yeah,
That was a good scene.
So
and he is
I
gonna be
I
in
could
Obi-Wan.
I could see like, the rebels, Palpatine hears about this upstart rebel alliance and he sends Vader out to try and check some fools or something. I don't know. Like that I could see.
That
More
would
so
actually be
even
kinda
maybe.
cool because I mean, everyone always has wanted, well, not everyone, but there's been always a lot of like talk and one thing of that Vader movie or something where he's hunting down the Jedi. So it'd be
Yeah.
kind of, they could throw him in there and be like, maybe that's how, instead of hunting down all these Jedi, oh, there's word that there's some rebel base out here. Let me go. Palpy sends them out to investigate or something.
Papa Palps.
I mean, and that they could use that actually to kind of tee up the Obi-Wan show, maybe too, because Vader's supposed to be
Sure.
making an appearance there, and
I
they could
wonder how
kinda-
that's going to work.
Yeah, they could set the whole. Well, we'll talk about the Obi-Wan thing on the next time because that is our next topic has to do with Obi-Wan anyway. So we'll just wrap this one up right here, guys. So the question is, what do you think about either Ahsoka or Obi-Wan appearing in the Andor TV series? Do you think it's even something that's necessary? I mean, as long as they have a good way of, if they're there for a narrative purpose, then I'm all for it. But I don't want them just to show up just to show up. Because it was cool that Luke Skywalker showed up at the end of Mandalorian, but there was narrative purpose for it. I mean, it could have been one of it. It could have been unnamed Jedi person, but at the same time, it was much cooler that it was Luke Skywalker. So let us know what you think down in the comment section below.